Hey! Hey! Ho, 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 ho! Look at that! Hey! Hey! Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Standing Out, a show about sales, marketing, and leadership. I'm Trey Griggs, your host. So happy that you're with us here in the month of February. Can you believe it? 1 month already gone by here in 2024. We turned 2 last month. Beta Consulting Group was 2 years old last month, January 15th. Pretty exciting milestone for us as we continue to venture in the world of entrepreneurship and figure things out. Oh, look at that. We get the applause. I love it. That's wonderful. But it was great. So make sure you check us out online at betaconsultinggroup.com. See how we're helping companies tell their story to truly communicate with the market effectively. Also, we got a new logo. Look at this. We got some new logos, some new swag coming out. Very excited about that. Shout out to our team, to Morgan Vertner, Natalia Navis, and Coleman Ruffin for creating this bad boy. So excited about that. So a lot of new things happening here at Beta Consulting Group and it's Standing Out. As you'll notice, those that are watching the video version of the show, we got a new background, a little new layout. It's all fresh here in 2024. A lot of big things coming our way. Also, speaking of fresh in the trade show world, which it's that time of the year, folks, for trade show season, make sure you visit brokercarriersummit.com. Listen, this is the most unique event in the industry, the Broker Carrier Summit. It's going to be in Kansas City, April 22 through 24, my hometown. Home of the hopeful Super Bowl champion Chiefs. We'll see. They are right now. Maybe they will be at this time as well. And it's going to be a great time for brokers and carriers to get together to talk about the issues of the industry, to find true partnerships, legitimate players in the industry, to find people that can run the lanes that they're looking for. And it's just great to see people face to face. It's going to be an awesome time. We're going to have a lot of unique events, including the golf tournament. It's a 2-day team event. It's the Post and Pray Classic. You can find out about that and the entire event at brokercarriersummit.com. It's going to be a great time. Can't wait to see you guys there and have a good time. All right, listen, we got a great episode today. We got a great guest today. I can't wait to bring him on and talk about his experience. He's been in the industry for a long time, done a lot of great work, built some great companies, and now he's helping other companies do the exact same thing. So please welcome to the show my good friend, the CEO of Diablo Ventures, Tyson Lawrence. Let's go, Metallica. Come on, let's go. Tyson, what's up, buddy? How are you?
Man, thanks for having me, Trey. This is a joy to start out the year on the show.
Man, it's good to see you, man. I've enjoyed doing some work with you and getting to know your story. And I can't wait for you to tell our audience a little bit about your story. So just take a quick moment and tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, born and raised in the Pacific Northwest. Now I'm in California, out in the Bay Area. Been in the transportation and logistics game for nearly 25 years now, which is crazy. Seen a lot of growth and change in the industry, and recently sold my business to Global Trans and started a new one that kind of does some consulting and investing and own a Unishippers franchise as well. So kind of taking the breadth of my experience in the industry and kind of spreading it out.
You're living the dream, man. You're successful. You exited a company. Now you're getting to play a little bit, do some things you've probably always wanted to do. I can tell you I'm excited for those moments in my career as well moving forward. So kudos to you on that. And we appreciate you being on the show. So before we get started, I got to ask you, are you a coffee drinker or would you prefer a water bottle? We're going to send you one for being on the show today. What do you want? Oh, this way. Sorry.
Coffee for sure.
Ooh, coffee. Okay, we'll get the mug out to you so you can enjoy a few cups on us.
Pacific Northwest guy, they put us on coffee, right early.
I know, man. I used to live in Portland. I love it, man. We got a lot of common bonds with that.
Right.
Could you handle the gloomy weather in the winter? Is that why you went to California, or what got you from the Northwest down to California?
I mean, pretty much that, so I grew up in the eastern part of the state of Washington, and believe it or not, there's a desert over there. A lot of people
Yeah,
don't
there is.
know
That's
that.
right. The high desert. That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So, we got a lot more sun. We'd get the snow, but it wasn't the wet, gloomy kind of way Seattle and Portland were.
Right.
So a lot of friends and family live over there, spend a lot of time over in Seattle. I love Seattle and Portland. But I went to Washington State University, and I was officially on summer break one year. It was my junior year going into my senior year, and we got snow in May. And I was like, when I'm done next year.
Yeah, that doesn't happen often.
Yeah, I was like, I'm done. I'm putting up my snow shovel. So anyway, C.H. Robinson hired me and brought me down to the Bay Area, and been in the East Bay for almost 20 years now.
Okay, were you in Spokane area or the Tri-Cities? What part of Eastern Washington were you near?
Tri-Cities, born and raised in Kennewick, Washington.
Yeah. Kennewick, that's right.
Yeah.
Man, that's funny. So my career of door-to-door sales of office supplies, we did a business trip to the Tri-Cities, and we blitzed that entire area for 5 days selling office supplies. And I'd never been there before, but man, driving up that Columbia River Gorge, getting to the Tri-Cities was a beautiful drive, man. It's a nice area over there, man. It's not bad.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. The wine scene is really hops
huge.
were growing up. There's a lot of agricultural
onions, huge over there. Yeah.
Yep. So wine is really big up there now, and it's a really interesting area. It was called the Secret City because it was started the area Richland. It's called the Tri-Cities. Richland, Pasco, and Kennewick are the three cities, and Richland was a federal town born out of the Manhattan Project back in the 40s.
Really?
And they created the plutonium in Richland to fuel the nuclear bomb that they dropped in Hiroshima.
Wow, so, I did not know that. Wow, there's some history. Yeah, that's interesting.
So the high school there in Richland is called the Richland Bombers, and their logos are with the mushroom cloud.
They're not hiding that at all, man. We're the ones. We're the ones.
No, I tell you, man. But it's really interesting. Oppenheimer touched on it briefly. They called it Hanford, but there was 3 locations. There was Hanford in Washington. There was Oak Ridge out in Tennessee, and then there was Los Alamos in New Mexico. And those 3 locations came together to do that. So.
Wow, did not realize that. I've been there a couple of times, and again, that drive on the Columbia River Gorge. It's weird how it goes from like these huge pine trees and greenery everywhere to then you get to a certain place and it's just desert. There's no trees. It's so awkward, man. It's so weird, but it's a great part of the country.
One where it stops.
Yeah, that's right. It's crazy, man. It's a great part of the country, that's for sure. Now, fun fact about you: you are the part owner of a wood baseball bat company. Is this true?
Yeah. So, I'm a big sports fan. Grew up playing sports, mainly football and hockey were my 2 sports. But I played baseball because my friends did, and I claim to be the best bullpen catcher of the of the time. But I love baseball. Been involved with it, and my friend of my sister's, he was about 4 years younger than us. Played in the minors and was really interested in what his tool was, and wood bats. And so he started creating his own. And when he got done playing, he wanted to start this wood baseball bat company. And I got involved with him early on. Obviously, I had other things going on in the logistics industry, and so he's built it up over the years. And I've kind of been a part owner, advisor, board member, and we're doing a lot of cool things. We'll be major league approved here in a few years, and so we'll be swinging. They'll be seeing some pro swinging soon.
What's the name of this bat company? Now I'm so intrigued because I'm a baseball lover myself, man. Like, what is it?
It's called DeVore Brothers Bat. I'm sorry, and at Devo.com. If you go to Devo.com.
Nice.
Jordan DeVore is the founder. Yeah, Jordan DeVore is the founder. He's incredible. Knows so much about, wood and, the bats and the manufacturing of it. And, he's all self-taught, just very interested about it. There's, one kind of fun fact about it. There's kind of one forest up in, upstate New York that produces a lot of the wood for it. It's starting to branch out beyond that. There's more, pardon the pun, but there's more places that they're growing the wood and the maple. But for a long time, it originated out of one spot in northern upstate New York.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I got to go to the Louisville Slugger factory and go through their tour, and they talk about that, how there's a forest that like all the bats pretty much are made out of the wood that are in these forests, especially the early bats, back in the early 1900s, and the bats that Babe Ruth and some of those guys would use all came from those forests. And sometimes the players would go and like see the process. They'd come to Louisville, they'd look at different woods and pick bats out. George Brett went and looked at woods back in the 70s and 80s at the factory. Yep. So it's a fascinating process. It's really cool. So now I'm really intrigued. I can't wait to see the DeVore brothers' name out there in Major League Baseball. That's pretty sweet, man. That's cool.
Yeah, it's fun stuff.
Are you a Mariners fan then, or Giants, or Athletics? Who's your loyal? Who's got your loyalty?
I'm a Mariners fan, and then I didn't watch NL baseball until I moved down here to the Bay Area. And,
oh man, so you missed out King Griffey and some of those.
Well, Randy those Johnson. Were my guys. Griffey was my Willie Mays. I grew up Jay Buhner, Edgar Martinez.
Edgar, oh yeah.
Everybody in my family and friends know where we were when Griffey rounded third and slid into home to beat the Yankees. I mean, that was a seminal moment. Growing up, our sports team sucked. I mean, the 90s, Seattle, the Seahawks were horrible. The Sonics were decent. We had,
Sonics had a run there. Yeah, they were in the finals against the Bulls. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the Mariners were tough. So the Mariners, they've always got a soft spot, but man, they're tough. And but being here in the Bay Area and following, I came down right when Barry was going off, doing his thing. So that was quite a experience to be around here and seeing that. But the A's, I went to a lot of A's games, so I have a soft spot for them. And I was here during the Moneyball era, and kind of, I'd watch the Mariners when they came to town, but at the same time, they were exciting to watch. So sad to see them leave, but the Bay Area has become more of a Giants, area.
For sure. Giants, 49ers, that's for sure. But a lot of history there, a lot of cool moments, that's for sure. I hate to bring up one, but you remember Harold Reynolds getting thrown out of home by my favorite player, Bo Jackson, from the Kansas City Royals back in the day. Do you remember that?
I absolutely do. And, Bo was one of my nemesis because he kept, I was a big Brian Bosworth fan,
Yeah. He ran over that dude, man. I'm telling you, he's the one guy that took him on. Yeah, that's phenomenal. All right, let's turn our attention to business a little bit, because you've had an incredible career in transportation. You've built companies up, you've sold them, and I want to focus on leadership a little bit, because that takes a lot of leadership to do that. There's a lot of vision that goes into it. Obviously, creating the right team that can build that type of a company. And then the foresight to, keep growing and to find the right buyer and sell it and exit appropriately, all those kind of things. It takes a lot of leadership. Where did you start to realize in your journey that, man, I'm a leader and I want to be a leader and I want to learn and become a better leader? What's that process like for you?
It began playing sports, really. I always kind of view things. I view myself as an athlete, even though I haven't, played in a long time, but
I think we all still do.
Right. I just kind of look through things, that vision. And so being a leader was something that, I gravitated towards people who were leaders, mentors, things like that. And so I've always kind of took notes and tried to I prided myself as being resilient, and that kind of tends to, draw people towards you. And I just, I felt comfortable in that role. It wasn't something that I was shying away from, something I accepted. And, I've learned as I got into business that not a lot of people want that. They don't accept that. They're just content on just kind of playing their role and doing their thing. So I found that business is very similar to that, where I could kind of build my teams and my groups. And that's why I looked at stuff as kind of like a general manager. I want to get the best players and put them in the best positions to succeed.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Some people really want to play the game. Some people want to coach it. Some people want to build the team. And it's, finding your place and getting really passionate about that makes a big difference. Did you read any books or any podcasts or anything that really helped you in your leadership journey, especially like maybe some of those tough times? Because leadership is not for the faint of heart. It's a difficult job from time to time. Is there anything that really stands out that helped you out?
Oh, certainly. So, I had a part in my career where I actually had a big failure when my first business went bankrupt. And I had to find myself. I had that business for 10 years, from when I was 26 to about 35. So, that's a different part of my life where, I was having kids and things like that. And, just trying to find myself as a leader. And when I was starting the new business, I really took a hard look at myself. So, okay, what am I good at and what am I not good at? And I kind of started leaning into those things that I was good at and trying to find leaders and people who kind of embodied what I wanted to be. At the time, around here in the Bay Area, Steve Jobs was had just passed away. He was getting a lot of, flowers, as they say nowadays, and, shout outs and things like that. And personally, I kind of never really liked him. I figured like he was kind of a dick. And so you saw a lot of people trying to emulate that style, and that just wasn't me. And so during that time, I leaned on leaders and coaches that I looked at leaders and coaches who I kind of thought embodied that, feeling of teamwork and, empathy and, mindfulness and all that type of stuff. And Pete Carroll, coach for the USC Trojans, and then obviously my beloved Seahawks, had a great book called Win Forever. And it kind of outlined his, view on things. And it was really he's kind of like a player's coach. He's very into mental health.
Totally.
And,
yeah.
All that type of stuff. So that helped big time during that time because they kind of gave me a blueprint to kind of follow. And then, Gary Vaynerchuk, he kind of popped up about that time, and I came across his stuff, and, I connected with kind of his viewpoint on a lot of things. One of them being empathy. I used to view I'm a very empathetic person, and I used to view that as a weakness. And I was, yeah. And I was trying to fight against it, and I thought, I had to be tougher and, like Steve Jobs and all this stuff. And it just wasn't jiving with me. And so when I kind of saw him pumping that and kind of leaning into that, I thought, I'm not going to fight it anymore. So I really leaned into that, and, it changed, the way I view everything. I just kind of harnessed it and come to terms with it.
Yeah, Pete Carroll, he's one of those guys that even though he's won at many different places on different levels, all of his players love playing for him. They have such an appreciation for him. And I think that historically, or maybe old school coaching or old school leadership was you have to be tough. Personal relationships are not important. In fact, that gets in the way of great leadership and great teams. And I think the opposite is true. You're seeing a shift in that. I mean, Dan Campbell and the Lions, the run that they've had this year, he's definitely a player's coach. Andy Reid's a player's coach, but they also have a high level of excellence. They've got high standards. And I think that's the challenge with leadership is maintaining high levels of excellence, high standards for your organization, for yourself, while still being very personable. And I think empathy is the key to that. So I love the fact you talk about that. I'm a big fan of Gary Vaynerchuk. That's, to me, that's like the key, the critical component,
Yeah, it was life-changing. I don't, that was huge. It just kind of changed my focus, and I wasn't afraid of it, and
yeah.
And you breed competition. I love competition, and, that kind of, you can still love people and still compete,
Right. Exactly.
Beat them down, and I came from the old school coaching, and I never responded well to people getting in my face and yelling at me and, that type of stuff. But if someone were to take me aside, coach me and say, hey, let's do this, try that, look for this, that went a lot further. So, I just leaned into that, and I've been leaning into that. And, a lot of my guys in my first company and second company stuck around for 10 and 15 years because I gave them the agency to kind of develop their own careers and opportunities within, our business as we were moving in the right direction, in the same direction.
Yeah. My dad was a Bobby Knight, disciple coach. My high school basketball coach, same way. Really tough as nails. But the difference, I think, was how much, like, my high school coach, you knew he cared about you. He'd give you rides to and from practice. I remember one time I blew out my shoes in a game. Like, you just had to win for a cut, and I literally blew out my shoes towards the end of the game. I couldn't play the rest of the game because we didn't have extra shoes on backup at that time, and so I was out. And that was a Friday night. And he said, hey, what time are you going to be up in the morning? And I said, I don't know, probably 8, 9 o'clock, something like that. He goes, okay, I'll be at your house at 10 o'clock. He comes over to my house. He knew I didn't have a lot of money, picked me up, took me to the shoe store, and bought me another pair of shoes. Just little stuff like that. You're like, man, this guy really cares about me, right? But he had this level of excellence, this standard that he wouldn't compromise on. And again, I think it's a big part of leadership is managing both of those. How do you keep high standards, but also be really, really personable. So we're going to come back and talk about more leadership in just a minute. Tyson, we're going to take a quick break and talk about our sponsors, say thanks to them for keeping the bills on. Listen, if you are a freight broker out there and you are looking to get rid of the back office stuff, all the things you don't like about having a brokerage, or maybe you're an agent and you're not just happy with where you are at your current agency, be sure to check out our friends over at SPI Logistics. You can find them at success.spi3pl.com. They've got the technology, systems, back office support to help you succeed, and they love helping agents succeed. So again, check them out at success.spi3pl.com and change your career with SPI Logistics. All right, Tyson, got to get back to the conversation about leadership and consulting. Now you are doing a lot of consulting in the industry. You're helping other companies with the lessons you've learned along the way. When did you know that consulting, coaching, that this is really what you wanted to do?
It was kind of a slow burn recently. So when I sold my business to Global Trans, I went into agent development with them for a few years, and spending some time in there listening to other agents and understanding what problems that they were having, issues they were having, really opened my eyes to, what I could provide and what, I guess I just realized I was the old guy in the room all of a sudden, and I had
it comes up on you fast, doesn't it?
Man, I tell you. And I just had some things that I thought I took for granted that I'd learned in the business that others could use and and kind of pull forward with. So I started looking at it as this is the point in my career where I'm a coach now. I kind of saw myself as a player coach for a long time. I've transitioned to more coaching and mentoring in my roles in my businesses and things like that. So I thought, this is an opportunity to kind of take it out there and help anybody else that I can and provide that. Mentoring's big. I'm a big, I've had lots of mentors in my life, so I love to be able to kind of provide that back.
Yeah, that's huge. Somewhere along the way, you kind of ask yourself, when am I going to have enough experience to be a consultant? And then it shows up. And for me, it usually it happened about the time that I realized that all of my favorite sports athletes, I'm now older than all of them. I was older than everybody on the field. I'm like, okay, maybe I've been around the block a little longer than I thought. I've got a little wisdom to potentially share with people, and so I can fully appreciate that. Do you feel like your leadership style has changed at all in the last 10 to 15 years? Like what has maybe changed? What have you gotten rid of? What have you added? How are you helping other people really become great leaders? Because again, that's the crux of business, in my opinion, is great leadership.
Yeah, it's even more challenging now than ever with virtual, at least for guys like myself who don't know any better, right? We grew up in the environment of having, someone kind of over your shoulder or whatever. You're in that environment all the time. And that's the way I built my past companies. And it wasn't like I was micromanaging, but, you have conversations at the water cooler or in the kitchen or whatever with different people.
Yeah, it's just different.
And, yeah, those organic conversations I miss. And those were big in my early career. We're having those kind of one-off conversations. And I got two new guys that are working for me now, 21 and 23, to the industry. And that's the challenge I'm finding is, we try to get in the office as much as possible, but, with virtual work, virtual, meetings and things like that sometimes, and especially with me traveling and doing the stuff that I'm doing, it's easier just to connect that way. And I'm trying to find ways to have those conversations where you get to know people and understand, what their motivations are and what their goals are. And that stuff helps someone like me in a leadership role. So I know where to put people and what their, positions to play. And so I'm having a hard time finding those opportunities. So that's a challenge now that I'm dealing with.
Yeah. And I think that's an area that a lot of people are trying to figure out because, most of the managers and leaders pre-COVID were used to exactly that, having people in office, having those spur of the moment conversations, water cooler conversations. Let's go have lunch, pop into my office real quick. Let's chat for a moment. Let me come sit at your desk and help you out with something. And those things are much more difficult now with virtual. You have to be very intentional about it. What we've found that's really interesting is sometimes we'll just jump on a Zoom call or a Teams call, whatever video platform you're using. We'll jump on a video call and just work together. Like we're not even working on something together. We're just working together, and that gives us the time to have conversations. Oh, did you hear about this? And, talk about sports or kind of have those conversations. And that's helped out a lot. But man, if you're not used to that, it's weird for people to figure that out. So I think it's critical for leaders to adapt and start to understand, hey, there's a new way to lead. There's some new skills that I need to learn to be an effective leader if I'm in that situation. So I think that's why we're seeing a lot of companies wanting to go back to the office, because they're just uncomfortable. They're just not sure how to do it. I think it's very common that you're finding that situation to be the case. So
no, it's challenging. I talk to other business leaders, and some of them have different businesses. And I would say this from in building a freight brokerage, I feel like operations really needs to be in house. Sales can kind of drift and do different things outside the office, but there's a lot of in operations where you're kind of feeding off of one another and kind of helping get the whole thing done. And so anyway, I know it's done virtual too. I think it's somewhere hybrid in there that we're all working towards.
Yeah, and I've heard other people say the same thing. I've heard other people say sales needs to be in house because the competitiveness and operations can be out, right? So it's like there's kind of multiple ways to look at it, and there's not really a right answer. But it's like, man, how can we best make this work in our organization? And I think that's the challenge of this century, or this decade, is trying to figure that out.
Yeah, and I sorry, jump in there, but I think it's culture. Really, you got to start in figuring out, what your culture is, and not necessarily. Before so I'm Gen X. I think we're about the same age. Where I had my first email account like when I got started in the professional world. So
it's almost
my
embarrassing.
mind still thinks that way, right? And how do you get it done without technology? Where the new generation is thinking, how they get it done with technology. And I don't want to be an old curmudgeon and be like, we're doing it the old school way. But I think the answer is somewhere in between. And you kind of use the instincts that you developed, without the technology to help the technology, get better and leverage it. But it's just a real challenge. And, I don't think there's one way of doing it. It just kind of depends on your culture.
Right. I mean, we're a completely virtual company, so we're used to it. So we kind of live that way, but so we don't have office space to pay for. So instead we're working on having retreats where we can all get together twice a year, 3 times a year, those types of things to try to, facilitate some of those experiences and shared experiences and things like that. But there's no right answer, but man, it's a challenge for everybody that we have to just kind of figure out. So it'll be interesting to see where it all winds up and where it goes. Right. All right, we got to pause for a second. We got to have a little fun on the show. We always like to have a little fun, Tyson. So today we've got a game for you called Would You Rather? All right, here we go. Here's how it's going to work. We got 5 rounds. We're going to put up just a banner with a couple of options, and we want you to tell us which one you would pick. All right. So first of all, number 1, would you rather have 2 long front teeth like a beaver or no teeth at all?
I think I'll have to go. Yeah. I'm thinking of utility. So you can get a lot done with big front teeth. So,
you can.
Not only
don't
eat,
smile.
you can smile. You can gnaw on things. You can fashion yourself probably an arrow out of it.
Yeah, I mean, no teeth. You're really kind of hamstrung into just like drinking liquids. That's no good. That's no good. I think I'd rather suffer with 2 big front teeth. Yeah.
You had to mash everything up. Yeah.
Not good. Not good. I'm with you on that. Okay. All right. Number two. Would you rather have to use shrimp flavored toothpaste or deodorant that smells like cheese? Shrimp flavored toothpaste or deodorant that smells like cheese?
Wow, that's a tough one.
Okay, I've got my answer. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with the shrimp flavored toothpaste.
Yeah, I'm with you because you can put a piece of gum in after that. You can totally fix the breath afterwards. Like, I don't care what the flavor of the toothpaste is. I'm with you. That's because deodorant that smells like cheese. What is that? Who wants to do that? That doesn't even make sense.
Then it gets stuck in your clothes, And
oh gosh, just the smell of cheese. Never get it out. It's not good. Yeah. Okay. All right. Number 3. Would you rather eat all your food with your hands or use utensils with only your non-dominant hand?
Oh wow.
Are you eating with just your hands, or would you rather eat with your non-dominant hand?
Yeah, I'm going with hands. I'm
You're
going with
just gonna
hands.
just pick it up and eat
Just
it.
get
Yeah.
after it. Yeah. Just get it over with. It's just too much effort,
It's
trying to
way
get
too much
that.
effort. I don't know. See, I kind of like the challenge. My dad always challenged me to be
True.
ambidextrous growing up. So sometimes I'll eat with my left hand and see what it's like. Sometimes I'll write with my left hand, see how bad it is. I don't know. I kind of like that. I may have to go that route, but it would be easier just to pick it up with your hands. That's for sure.
I'm left-handed, so I've grown up in a world in which I've had to kind of get around.
Oh yeah.
Right-handers.
You've had to use your non-dominant hand a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess I'm thinking that you just get after it and move on.
I like it. All right, next one. Would you rather spend the day wearing wet socks or with a popcorn kernel stuck in your teeth?
Jesus. Oh man, that was tough.
Neither sound good.
Yeah. I think I would go with the wet socks.
Really? Because see, here's my take on the kernel stuck in your teeth. Depending on where it's stuck in your teeth, you might not feel it. You might not notice it. But wet socks, man, you're feeling that all day. That's not going away.
Yeah.
So
I'm just thinking of the kernel though. You can't get out. You know how I guess there was one that like.
Yeah. Somehow you just got to forget it's in there. So you get your
That's true.
I think I'm going kernel because I could probably live with that. But the wet socks, oh man, that would be terrible. All right, final round here. All right, would you rather be followed by a band wherever you go, or by someone narrating your life?
Shit. Wow. Maybe narrating my life.
You want Jim Nance to follow you? You have Jim Nance following you around, narrating your life like it's the final round of Masters. That would actually be pretty dope. A band would be fun, but there's moments where the band would be a problem. Like you go to dinner, that's a problem. You go to a movie, this is a problem. It's a problem with the band. So I think
can't sneak up on narrating.
Yeah, exactly. I think someone narrating your life is probably the way to go on that. All right. Well, that is Would You Rather this time around, Tyson. Thanks for playing. Hope you enjoyed that. What is next on tap for Diablo Ventures, man? What are you working on right now?
Man, we're just got a really big 2024 start going, and we're excited. So the franchise is only 8 months old, and that's around LTL and small package shipment. My consulting business is still roughly about that old too. So we're and I have investments that I've made over the last few months, and keeping track of all that stuff and growing all that stuff. I don't it's hard because it's like the first full year, so I don't know what to kind of put out there as a goal. I mean, we have some goals and things like that, but you don't really know what's we haven't felt out our stride yet, but we're going to be making a lot of changes, and I'm just excited for what's to come, the challenges to come.
It's great. I love it. And I think people need to reach out to you because it's always interesting to me how we grow up in our entire childhood. We have coaches all the way through high school and college. And then we get out of college and we don't think we need a coach anymore. We don't think we need anybody to help us out, and to have you as an outside voice to help people with issues they're dealing with that you've already dealt with. I just think it's a win, so I'm hopeful that people reach out to you and that, you can help them out with the experience you have. What's the best way for somebody to get in touch with you?
You go to LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn, or you can see here, send me, or go to diablofreight.com, and there's a quick way to just get your information in there, and it'll shoot me an email, and I'll reach back out to you.
Beautiful. I love that. And you got some new website coming soon and some different messaging. Very excited about all of that. So Tyson, thanks for joining us today, man. Always good to talk to you. And you have to come back and see us later on in the year. Tell us how things are going.
Hey, that'd be great, Trey. Thanks for having me on, and have a great 2024.
Sounds good, Tyson. We'll see you, buddy. All right, everybody, make sure that you come back every Tuesday for a new episode of Standing Out to learn more about sales, marketing, and leadership. And be sure to follow us on YouTube. Just search for the Beta Podcast Network and be sure to check us out there. All of our content is going to be there. Every episode of Standing Out, every episode of The Word on the Street, which happens live at noon on Fridays, and The Edge as well, on the latest in logistics technology, showcasing all that off. You can find it all right there. If you're interested in coming on the show or becoming a sponsor, be sure to shoot us an email at hello@betaconsultinggroup.com. And don't forget to subscribe to that YouTube channel when you check it out. Thanks again to our sponsor, SPI Logistics, for making it possible. And remember, stop standing still, start standing out. We'll see you next time.